Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Flick Fanatics Podcast Pals. It's a discussion, review, podcast type of show where we discuss movies. And today I'm Matt, as always, and I'm also with John here. We're going to talk about the Star Wars franchise, specifically The Force Awakens.
Flick Fanatics Podcast Pals. Star Wars.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's
I know it's
definitely
been a
gonna be
beat. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Quick update. We just finished our school semester. Got a lot of content coming. The delayed Q&A is coming. Footage from Comic-Con's coming. Some Marvel fans and even comic book fans of both Marvel and DC will like it. And our new series will be starting soon. 52 Flick Up. And collection videos will be coming soon.
Yes.
So just an update. We're not dead.
And more reviews.
Yeah, more reviews obviously.
And shopping videos.
Yeah,
hopefully.
so we're not dead.
Not yet.
So we're going to talk about Star Wars, The Force Awakens. We saw it Thursday night, Friday morning at 1:40 a.m. in IMAX 3D. We had a few days to gel on it, to think about it, and we're here to discuss it.
Yeah.
So kicking off, just got the plot synopsis on IMDb. 3 decades after the defeat of the Galactic Empire, a new threat arises. The First Order attempts to rule the galaxy, and only a ragtag group of heroes can stop them, along with the help of the Resistance. So, 30 years, actually. It's just like the real time
Yeah.
from the episode 6.
Yeah. No Star Wars movies have happened since episode 6.
Right,
So.
nothing. We're 90s kids. We weren't alive when the original trilogy was out. However, when we were kids, our parents took us to like classic cinema re-releases in theaters. So we did see episodes 4, 5, and 6 all within I think it was a week they were showing them.
Had them on VHS for a while. Had them on DVD. Still have them on DVD.
Yeah.
Refused to buy them on Blu-ray until we get the proper editions.
Right, the regular cuts. But so we saw those as kids, and then we were still young when the prequels came out, so we saw the prequels. We've seen some of the shows, not like everything and stuff, but we're big fans, really big fans. We like it a lot. Obviously, it changed sci-fi cinema history. You got the VHS box there right here.
Just got this in the mail.
Yeah.
Original trilogy on VHS.
None of those CGI cuts. None of those.
And it's looking really cool. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah,
You know.
no, I'm excited. Oddly enough, I watched the DVDs, marathoned it
I did
before.
too,
Force
yeah.
Awakens, we both did. They took out the Jedi mind trick scene
I think they did.
in
yeah.
A New Hope with the speeder.
Really bizarre.
Why, Lucas? Why?
Some of those
It's like
additions
one
are
of the most
weird.
iconic lines.
Like there was a thing at the end of
Not
Return of the
kids.
Jedi.
Yeah.
Where they're showing the Gungans.
Yeah, they
and
infused stuff from the prequels.
And it's like
Anakin showed up as the Force, not Vader, all grown up, not Anakin as Vader. It was CGI'd. Hayden
Christensen.
Yeah, whatever that guy.
Yeah, great actor.
Yeah, great actor.
No, he's all right.
it's
He's got his moments, but
yeah.
But more importantly,
So we were amped going into Force
Yes.
Awakens. This is one of our more anticipated movies of the year.
Definitely.
I got a Kylo Ren shirt before the film was even out.
I got my Spock shirt here,
Yeah, repping
repping that
a star,
Trek
some
Beyond.
Star franchise. So yeah, we were really stoked before the film even came out. They did such a good job marketing it. Abrams, I had full faith Abrams was going to do well. I know people were kind of scared at first. I knew he was going to nail it.
Yeah, it's good too because
hands.
it's good if you're a fan of something and then they bring out a filmmaker that you already like. Because personally, I already liked J.J. Abrams going into it, so I was like, you know what, I have pretty high hopes.
Right,
for
and
it,
of course he was, a fan. He's knowledgeable about the franchise, and he's been around the block. Pros and cons. You wanna?
Yes.
What's your pros? We'll go with pros and then cons.
My first pro is the new characters and the cast. I thought bringing back the old characters was a good idea, but at the same time, you gotta bring some fresh blood in.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the three main, Rey, Finn, and Poe,
Three new.
the three main new characters were awesome. Dude,
BB-8.
BB-8 was cool. I mean, I don't think he's like everyone's going like head over heels for it, but like I think he's cool. But like he's a droid. Like
Yeah.
R2D2 was cool too. Like,
I think
I think it's fine to like love him, but I don't consider him like a main character.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
not yet.
I don't like I.
Did you consider R2 like, or did you kind of separate?
No, I
droids
like
from
yeah, like I was
even
like
3PO.
3PO
a little different
because he has a
he
voice
is
actor and an
AI.
actor playing him.
Right. Hey, there's a little guy in R2.
True, but I'm saying in the sense of
dialogue characterization.
Yes,
I
like,
get
and yeah, like
but BB-8 gives characterization.
Yes.
I think that's why people are head over heels. He's got the cute factor.
Yes, but
he has the interactions with Finn and other humans. The story revolves around him, so I think people kind of attach to him.
But I'm saying though I see him as a supporting character though. I don't see him as a main character.
Right. Do you think it's a positive though, or do you think it's just are you indifferent completely?
I think he's fine. I'm not like against him or anything. You know what I mean? Like I think he's fine as a supporting character, but I don't think people should look at him and be like, "Oh yeah, he's my favorite main character," because Finn is way cooler. Rey is even cooler than Finn, and Poe is like right in between. I think like Poe's badass and funny.
Right.
But Finn, I love John Boyega from Attack the Block, so I was really excited to see him in a bigger, blockbuster kind of movie. And he covers his accent super good in Star Wars.
Yeah, I didn't even know he had one, so that's cool.
Exactly, yeah.
That's good acting.
So that was my first big pro.
Yeah.
And then another pro was I actually like the villain. I like Kylo Ren a lot. I thought he was really interesting and kind of, menacing, but he also had that like young factor to him. So that was really cool. Because he wasn't like super experienced as a villain. He wasn't Vader. He was still kind of like, almost like learning who he was as a villain.
Right.
So I like that about it, and of course, the action. The action, I think, might even surpass the characters one for me because the action was just awesome. All of the action, I loved watching it. It was amazing in IMAX 3D, and that was the best part of the movie. The action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it?
Those are my three pros, yeah.
Okay.
I would say.
Yeah,
I could find more, but
right, like I'm
score, things like that.
I'm with you. I thought the cinematography is great. Like Abrams, this is a very very well filmed film.
I want to know who shot it. Like,
who DP is.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's got that Abrams feel to it, yet it's its own thing too, right? Like if you could watch it and you could be like, oh, I could see how Abrams directed it, but if like no one knew that, I think they still wouldn't. It feels like a new product. It's not like overbearing lens flares, but it's filmed super well. A few scenes in particular we will talk about in spoilers that are shot really well. Good use of 3D.
Yes.
Like space. You see like the stars are almost like layered, and there's like just the shot of like just the space, and it feels like you're in space. It's cool. And the X-wing cockpit views with missiles flying past, that was dope. Like you said, all the new characters are great. I totally agree. And I'm gonna lump BB-8 in there. I thought he was pretty great, even though, let's be real here, people. He's a marketing ploy to sell toys, and it worked. I bought one.
But
he is going to be the new droid, and he'll get to develop more with stuff, and he'll have a bigger role, just like R2 did.
I was going to say real quick with what you said about Abrams. I think Abrams is a great director in the way that he is able to kind of like replicate other directors' styles.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying
true.
It's a bad thing.
No, yeah.
As a good thing, because look at Super 8. It was
Right.
produced by Spielberg. Kind of felt like a Spielberg film,
like an 80s film.
So like
This felt like a New Hope-ish type.
He's the right guy to kind of take on big franchises.
Totally.
I think, especially established.
He's a franchise fixer,
Mhm.
especially Star Trek 2. I know people hate it, but it's a fine franchise. The practical effects are dope. Just everything. It just felt so refreshing to see real set pieces, real aliens, even the visual effects like CG, just the massive scale of stuff they did with CG was really impressive. Good blend of old and new school. Felt like it was part of the original trilogy, but it felt like it wasn't. It was cool. It's essentially a reboot as much as it is a sequel and a remake. It's kind of this crazy mishmash of everything.
Yeah, it's like a New Hope 2.0 or something.
And I was actually really surprised with this. This is my last pro, actually. Comedy. A lot of comedy, and at first I was really thrown off by it. I didn't know what to expect, especially with the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like a lot of comedic paces, and all the beats kind of hit. I would say like 90% of the comedy worked for me, like, which is really great for a movie to throw in comedy a lot. Like sometimes, a lot of times, comedy won't gel with me, like with a lot of like maybe Marvel films or something or other blockbusters. But this one, it was just like so on point, timing, delivery. It worked. It worked really well.
Definitely.
So it was kind of cool to have like a more lighthearted Star Wars film, even though I prefer the darker, grittier kind of Star Wars stuff, like Empire Strikes Back and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely surprising, and in a good way. Really good comedy.
Yeah, I agree with the comedy too. I felt like this is one of Disney's like better hits when it comes to comedy.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
I think a lot of the Disney humor is starting to get stale for me with the Marvel films. Feel like I'm hearing the same joke every movie now.
Yeah.
But this one, it felt a little more like the characters actually were funny. Like, it's not like the writers were just trying to make the characters funny. The characters were actually funny.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
you know, it was like, it didn't feel super forced.
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun movie overall. It has its problems, though.
Yeah. Let's get into those
Yeah,
problems.
let's get into some of them.
So what are your cons?
Going off of the effects thing, great practical effects. Some of the CGI takes you out of it, though. It's a little too noticeable. You got Supreme Leader Snoke. He's kind of just like this CGI, just big CGI guy that you see. You know, it's like they got these close-ups on him and stuff, and it's
That's
like
actually my first con too.
yeah, and it's like you see that it's CGI right after you just saw a ton of stuff that wasn't. And
Right.
Kind of takes you out of it a little bit. Like
I'm going right off of that, and I'm totally agreeing with you. You know, we have these amazing practical effects, amazing set pieces, good CGI when it comes to like space stuff, and then like you said, it kind of grinds to a halt when you see this really noticeable CGI alien, especially, or like creature guy or anything, when like everything else has been practical or everything else has been done really well in CG. So obviously the budget, you can't get like maybe like a Caesar realism, like when it comes to like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Like you can't get like a realistic character like Snoke to be put on screen while you're doing everything else you're doing in that Star Wars film, because the budget would have to be like, you know, even bigger. But it is noticeable, and it does take you out. It takes you aback. Like the first time he's on screen, you're like, what? Whoa. You know, that looks very noticeable. And then there was actually another alien that handed out rations to Rey, who I believe maybe was played by Simon Pegg. I don't know. I didn't look up who he ended up playing, but it's like this fat alien who's gross, and it's just like really noticeable CGI face. And like on Jakku, everything's practical, so it's like, what the heck? You guys couldn't just keep a practical alien?
give him some like, you know, give him
he
some.
had like a very noticeable kind
like
of CGI.
facial pieces and stuff to wear, and you can totally like pull a classic thing.
So notable CGI took us out of the experience. Just briefly, what else?
Some of the consequences didn't have any weight to them, to me. There's parts with, like, this whole idea that they're kind of, like, redoing the Death Star again, and they're calling it something else this time.
Star Killer Base.
Yeah, it kind of comes off a little too convenient, that it's just like, oh, we'll use this plot point again from the other two movies.
Not even convenient, kind of lazy, which is like, like, we had A New Hope, Death Star. Return of the Jedi, Death Star 2.0. Now this one, Star Killer Base. Basically Death Star 3.0, and that's the same con that I had. It's the same thing. There's a weak spot. We hit it, shields are down, we hit the thing, it blows up. And it's just like, again? Like 3 times in a row almost? I mean,
like,
five,
and even then it's just like...
and you're right, it didn't have the weight.
It didn't have the weight, like, because... Like, they show it destroying stuff.
5 planets, which was cool visually. It was like,
it looks amazing.
It
like that
off
part,
the
that was a
Death
cool
Star beam.
CGI part. Like, you know, it looked really cool. But the thing for me was, like, it happens, and then like, the characters, like, it doesn't matter. Like,
really,
it's just kind of like, no one, like, really cared.
No one. Like,
that
even
it
the
happened.
Resistance, they're just like, oh, it took out 5 planets. We gotta take the weak spot out, and we gotta... We're in A New Hope, right? Vader kills Leia's home world right in front of her eyes, and it's like, wow, you get this, like, this impact, like, wow, this thing means business. Where that thing, yeah, it means business, but, like, we don't feel any emotional or kind of like any character attachment to it. So it's kind of just there, just happens.
Yeah, and if we're this is a spoiler video, so what I'm about to say is a spoiler, but this goes into a pro and a con with Kylo Ren Han Solo relationship kind of thing. Starts off really good. I mean, like when the reveal happens through Snoke that Kylo Ren is the son of Han Solo.
Right.
That was
Vader
cool.
was
I
his
was
grandfather.
like, I was
is
like,
actually what they said. So
yeah.
it took you a minute to like.
Yeah.
Where
But
is
once
the
you
dog?
piece it there,
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, And then the death of this main character, of Han.
Yeah.
It was, I think, done pretty well. It was emotional in that moment. Chewbacca, acts out, that whole thing. That was a good part, I thought.
Yeah.
But after, when it's told to Leia what happened, I felt like...
Was it told, though, or did she just sense it with the Force?
It
was very lackluster. She was just, like, kind of, like, mopey.
And she kind of just did, like, kind of just, like, made a face or something, and then it was kind of like, happened. Well, that's it. Because then, to me, it was like... Alright, I know we missed, like, 30 years in this story, but, like... That was, like,
you guys have a kid.
Yeah.
The kid killed said loved one, if they were married or not, and then
and then it was like oh man, like
you're right. It needed more. It needed more time in the oven. It needed more development, especially just the two of them in general.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like that scene, Han's death was done so well. Like it's shot that awesome wide shot, and it's funny. It's just
and you see the darkness start to come in.
It's always that iconic like stretch. And apparently handrails are not popular in this universe.
Yeah.
In any of the
something bad's gonna happen when you see.
Well, that's the thing. It has a sense of dread, but this sense of like hope.
Yes.
Because like Kylo's been fighting the light, and you're like, dude, he wants to be like not. He doesn't want to be part of the dark side. Like you have like this sense like, dude, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, dude, he's gonna die. But in the other back of my mind, I'm like, no, maybe he'll change. Maybe he'll, would it be so outlandish if like he let him take his lightsaber and they actually helped Kylo? But no, I mean, and it was done. Oh, it was shot so, and it was really sad. I mean, it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was like just an icon who was killed by his son, and now we have this guy Kylo, who's gonna become this evil Sith Lord, and probably no going back at this point. Yeah. Especially given the events of this film.
No apologies are gonna work now.
But I agree, it needed more. The Leia Han thing needed more. It was just kind of odd.
Yeah.
Convenient plot points, right? Like this isn't the lazy plot writing like the Death Star, even though that was like convenient, but R2-D2's in sleep mode. At the end of the movie, he just kind of wakes up because reasons. Now, Abrams went on the record and said why. He said like BB-8, this is an article, this has nothing to do with what was explained in the movie, but BB-8 kind of bumps R2 and he's beeping at him and stuff, and Abrams basically said like BB-8 was trying to wake R2 up, and R2 woke up because he was asking him about the Luke map, which is like cool, but at the same time, why didn't he wake up earlier when any of the humans needed the map? It just felt a little like weird. Yeah. Some people were predicting like, oh, maybe Rey's presence woke up R2, like the Force. Maybe Rey has some kind of connection to Luke. Probably, we don't know yet. But like that just felt very convenient. Just a lot of convenient stuff. Like, oh, this happens, X, Y, Z happens, and it kind of happened a lot in the movie. But it's also a blockbuster. It's also taking on the monumentous role of continuing a franchise from 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's a big task. You're gonna run into those. I don't think there could have been like a perfect script without like convenient things.
No, definitely. I don't think like any Star Wars movie from here on out could be like perfect. I don't think it's possible.
Well, unless they make their own. Like, I could see 8 being really fucking
just
cool.
Totally like doing your own thing, but it's like this idea that we're tying it so closely to these
so
other movies that existed 30 years ago. It's like there's gonna be error. Like, and I'm aware of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this might set up like pushing that away. Like we don't, because it has been 30 years. The only connection now is Leia leading Resistance, which who knows, she might not even stick around as Resistant leader. Luke, which fine, and then Vader being Kylo's grandfather. There's really no other plot like devices that are. We'll see.
That's true.
I don't know about you, but I had some like kind of pacing issues early on. Like everything was really fast in the beginning, and it kind of took me aback because like we get jumped in with Finn. And then Poe rescues him, and everything kind of like was like going kind of quickly, And I don't know how you felt about it. I felt like it was kind of moving really fast.
Yeah.
Almost too fast.
Yeah.
Like, Rey was thrown in, and then...
I did like
but
that,
then
though,
it came into
because-
its own, I think, when Finn and Rey met. I think that's when the movie, to me, clicked.
Yeah.
And it started
Yeah,
getting
I
paced
think,
better.
like, the opening was just to set up a couple characters. I was okay with the fast pacing at the beginning. I actually thought in the middle it got a little... Not dull, but it kind of slowed a
down.
little bit. And
Like,
that's okay
when you go to the watering hole.
to slow it down. Yeah, like, it's okay to slow it down, but I was really into, like, the kind of bam, bam, bam
Yeah.
beginning. Like, I like that kind of stuff, so I liked... Because the beginning, it not only introduced Finn and Rey, it also showed Kylo Ren, and
Right.
just, like, a glimpse of what he can do. And I was like,
Freezing the
that
laser
was
shot.
awesome.
Yeah, and
Like,
he held it there the whole time. I
which
guess...
also makes me wonder, though, how come he didn't block Chewie's shot?
My theory for that...
He was caught up in what just happened.
He
I
just
think.
killed his father.
Yeah.
I do, like I said, like all the performances. I like all the new characters. I wanted more development, though, with Poe. He was kind of not in it a lot. And then even Finn had a cool arc. But I felt like I could have used, like, more with him. I liked Finn. I wanted more of Finn. I felt like he went from coward to, like, cocky guy, like, way too quick. And I wanted maybe more of, like, the shit, I just betrayed the First Order. I just, this. But instead he jumps right into Rey, and the comedic stuff kind of starts with Rey. And I wanted maybe a little more of, like, scenic stuff with Jakku, kind of like, that would have obviously played up our nostalgia of New Hope, kind of having, like, a slower start and then kicking up. But it is what it is. I did think the music was fine, but it was kind of underwhelming. It wasn't as memorable. Like, I don't remember any, like, original tunes besides, like, the opening credit scroll. Maybe I gotta rewatch it. And then Captain Phasma, super shortchanged. I was really looking forward to this character. She kind of gave off the presence, even before the film was out, like this, this is like this badass. She's like the leader of like the Stormtrooper, the First Order. She gave off like a Boba Fett vibe, like a bona fide badass. And she's a chick. So it's cool. I was like, oh, female badass. And even the actress even said in interviews, female badass. She was in like 2 scenes, maybe 3. And she didn't do much. She didn't do anything,
Didn't
really.
do shit.
She ordered some stormtroopers to shoot some innocent people. Okay, cool. You did your job. And then she got punched by Chewie in one scene. And then...
got called, like, a name or something.
And, then Kylo kind of threatened her. And that was it. It was just really... However, she's coming back for Episode 8. Let's give her a bigger role. Let's give her a more menacing role. That's kind of it for my pros and cons.
Yeah.
For all the Kylo Ren haters out there, y'all are wrong. They humanize the Sith, and that's something that is cool. It's something that works, and I think will work in the long run, and he's still like a young, inexperienced Sith Lord. We don't want like another carbon copy of Vader, and we don't want another bland character like Maul. We want like character.
That's a good point.
I don't get why people are mad that he took his helmet off. I don't get why people are mad that he's still like inexperienced. Obviously, the Force is strong with Rey. One last pro. This is my last thing I'll say. The lightsaber fights were cool. They were like scrappy, yet they were well choreographed. Like it was so clear that all these people were kind of noobs, and they were like not knowing. Except Kylo had more oomph, but he also was shot. He was weakened, but it was really well choreographed.
I enjoyed the lightsaber fights.
It wasn't
in
over
this one.
finessey like the prequels, and it wasn't like as dull as like A New Hope was. It was like somewhere in between. Right. Yeah. But you know what I mean, yeah. So it was like something, like I said, good blend of old and new. I think that's a great summary of the whole film.
Yeah.
Great blend of old and new.
Yeah.
What's your review or score?
I would score this movie a 8 out of 10. That is a great score in my book. It's a B-, 4 out of 5. It was a really, really fun time. I don't think people should look too into it. It's like, it's got its pros, it's definitely got its cons as well, but like, it's not a perfect movie.
For me, for my score, I looked at it actually, I took a step back and I'm like, you can review it as like a Star Wars movie, which a lot of people will, and you can review it as like just a movie, like if you just came off the street. And I think like as a Star Wars film, I'd give this an 8.8. I thought it was pretty great. Like a B+. obviously it's got problems, but the good definitely outweighs the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at it from like, dude, what if this was like your first Star Wars film, which it will be for a lot of people, which is kind of cool to think about.
That is pretty cool.
You know, like obviously we weren't 70s or 80s kids, but we did watch the original trilogy as kids first, and we were enthralled by it. And then we watched the prequels, and we still found enjoyment out of it, even though they're poopy. You know, and those were the prequels were some people's first Star Wars films, and they probably love it, you know. And it's like, so if I like took a step back, and if I'm like, if I didn't think about the plot devices with A New Hope and the rehash stuff, this would probably be an A- for me. Like if I went in like this is the first Star Wars film, it has the atmosphere of the previous Star Wars film. It has the music for the most part. It has like the visual effects, the practicality. It's a fresh experience. If it was your first film, I'd give it an A. A-. But as a Star Wars fan and critiquing it as a sequel and part of the whole thing, I give it an 8.8. Both really good scores. You know, B+, A-. Yeah, it's really great. Let's rank them.
Yeah.
Do you got a ranking?
Okay. So
from worst to best.
Okay,
out
worst
of all
to
the
best.
Star Wars main movies.
Okay, cool. Out of all the Star Wars, so out of 7 movies, the 7th best movie is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I think it's a shit film. It's terrible. I'm not a fan of Episode 2. I think it's pretty garbage for the most part. 6th best Star Wars film for me would be Episode 1, Phantom Menace. Oh man, 3's the next one. It's the 5th best one in the series because it bridges the gap between the first 2 trilogies. Start going unpopular opinion here. My next one that I will pick is the 4th best Star Wars film, and that's Episode 4, A New Hope. I think it's really cool movie. Really good for the time. However, I feel it's super amateur because it's George Lucas. I'm amateur too, so don't worry. I'm not like saying I'm better than him. It's just, to me, the movie feels like there's a lot they could improve on throughout the whole thing. Whether we're talking about characters, whether we're talking about effects and how they're pulled off. 5 did everything 4 did way better, and so did 6. And I know people are kind of like, 6 is alright or whatever. But I think 6 is actually really cool. I think the ending's awesome. And I'm going to put... but I'm going to get to that in a second. Because number 3, third best Star Wars film for me is Return of the Jedi. It's right above New Hope for me. I think they're pretty close, but I think Return of the Jedi... just kind of cooler to me. I think Luke is a lot cooler in number 6 than he was in number 4.
He's the Jedi Knight, yeah. Like
he's actually kind of badass and makes decisions like all for himself.
Right.
Knows what he's doing. And the ending of 6 is awesome. I think the ending of 6 is great. There's some kind of emotional struggle between him and his dad. There's the whole... I think... Probably what saves 6 for me the most is the fight at the end between Vader and Luke. I think that is like kind of what I always remembered Star Wars as a kid, even though I liked 5 better. 6 was the one I always remembered because of Luke wearing the black, Vader in black, red and green lightsabers going at it, and then the Emperor watching. Like, I thought that was super cool.
You will join the dark
Yeah.
side.
He says that like every
6
other line.
times.
Yeah. I still like, I don't know. It's got its problems too.
No,
but
yeah.
I would rather watch number 6 over number 4.
And like what was so cool about 6 was Vader died a good guy, right?
Yes.
Like, but no one knew. Only he was a bad guy to the end in everybody's eyes except Luke.
And number 2 is The Force Awakens. It's
Damn.
it's funny because I graded them a little differently, but I do think I would rather watch The Force Awakens over episodes 4 and 6. Force Awakens to me was one of those movies that as a Star Wars fan I can watch and enjoy, but I could just I don't need to watch 1 through 6 to watch Force Awakens. I can just throw that one in now when it comes out and just enjoy it for what it is. And so I like that a lot about it. And then number 1, obviously episode 5. Not only a great Star Wars sequel, not directed by George Lucas, but a awesome sequel, one of the best.
And I'll just do my list really quick. Same thing with your prequels, actually. I'd put 2 at the bottom. Very forgettable. I honestly only remember a few things from that. It's been a while since I've seen them all, but really, really forgettable, kind of useless movie. 1, Maul's cool, Qui-Gon's cool, everything else is kind of poop. 3, it's kind of mediocre, but it's there, and there's, I guess, more good than bad than the other ones. And then going in, so 2, 1, 3, I'm going to go with actually 6, Return of the Jedi. It's not a bad movie by any means, it's just where I'm placing it in terms of preference. I had like issues with like the Ewok humor, kind of a lot of like unnecessary scenes with them. Like I said, I like Star Wars bleak and dark, but that's what's so good about that one was the ending. Like you said, the fight with Vader, the beginning with Jabba the Hutt, and Luke coming back as a Jedi Knight. I like that movie a lot. It's just kind of where it falls in with my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, it would probably be Force Awakens. We've been talking about it. It's fantastic, but I would put New Hope just above it, just barely though. Like literally by 0.2, that's what separates it. I give New Hope a 9, where I gave Force Awakens an 8.8. Only because like New Hope, the Death Star is the OG. You know, it's like that was the original plot for that. Force Awakens relied on that as a big plot point, reusing the Death Star. Vader's introduction, the whole mystique and charm about it. Like you said, there's a lot of problems. Like Luke, like Hamill comes off super whiny as Luke. Maybe that's what they were going for, but a lot of the acting's kind of iffy. But just seeing like Tatooine for the first time, C-3PO and R2 going through the forest, seeing these Jawas and these Sand people, and then it was just like you just first time watching, you're like, what is this? This is so like inventive. And then the Death Star and the music, like the music to me, just going the Death Star battle, especially going in like da, 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 like how like intense, and you're like, dude, Luke's all alone, and then it like to me like that was awesome. But topping A New Hope is of course Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Hoth, everything about it, like you said, it takes like what's so cool about A New Hope and like builds on it as a sequel. So it's an amazing sequel, and it's just an amazing film. You get the Luke and the Vader reveal. You get like Hoth. You get just cool settings like Cloud City, like Hoth, like super cool movie. That's my favorite Star Wars, and it's more serious. It's more dark, bleak, sets up for a lot of cool stuff with Luke confronting his father, with Yoda and stuff. So, yeah, there you have it. Those are our preferences.
There it is.
In the grand scheme of things, we like Star Wars.
It's cool.
Even the prequels, we rag on them, but there's still some good in them.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite franchise, but it's definitely one that I've always enjoyed, and I'll probably continue to enjoy it.
Like you said, it is one. It's not one of your favorites. It is one of my favorites. But
I mean, like it's a favorite franchise.
Okay, yeah.
It's just not my top favorite.
It's not my top favorite. It's one of them.
It's definitely up. It's a really cool franchise.
Yes,
like the history to it.
I mean, that was our childhood. I don't even remember. We had like a million toys.
Indiana Jones as well.
Yeah, that too. Lucasfilm. Put your discussions in the comments below. If you're going to write something about a spoiler, write spoiler. This movie's only been out a few days. We're going to get more content coming. Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to do another FFPP soon. And, thanks, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and share.